In this podcast, we'll look at Section 5 of the Online Assessment Rubric, Learning Assessment. Section 5, Learning Assessment, is set up very similar to Section 4, in which we have the 9 most common items in that category and then an other option. And we'll look at that in just a minute. There are a couple other checkboxes at the bottom of the form, but otherwise the structure with the checkboxes and then providing an overall score is very similar to Section 4. In Section 5, we've got a statement in the header here that says frequent learning assessments, either graded or ungraded, can help students evaluate and guide their own learning and can help instructors adjust to learners' needs throughout the course. Tying assessments closely to objectives adds further consistency and clarity to the course. So we have learning objectives coming back up here. We saw that in Section 3. It comes back here in Section 5, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But below, once again, if you're teaching a hybrid course, we would indicate whether that assessment is done in face-to-face format, or online format, or maybe it's done in both. You'll notice that we have 9 items here and then an other area. And of the 9, we're starting here at the top, quizzes or exams, online discussion, survey. This would be a student self-assessment of some kind, like practice test, study guides, those types of things. Then we have a review area. That could be peer review, a literature review, website review, or some other kind of review. And you could have more than one of these. So you could have both peer review and a website review. So that could count as multiple items. Then we have case study, project, paper, which is research-based, and then we have a paper that is creative. And then we have a multimedia presentation like PowerPoint or creating videos. And then the last thing is other learning assessment. And we often find that we have other types of assessments that are not on the list. These just happen to be the most common ones used in the literature when we put together the rubric. Once again, you want to read these very broadly. Take a look through your assessments and see how they fit in. If not, maybe they fit in the other category. Really, the thing we're trying to prevent is just having quizzes and exams as the only types of assessment, that there should be some kind of variety in the types of assessments used in the course. And once again, we would check off whether or not these are being done. And for most courses, once again, these are going to be things that are going to be appropriate for most courses. You will find some courses where these things are not appropriate, and then we would reduce down the number from 10 when the calculation is done for the score area here. Once again, this is the same scale used in Section 4. And if you have questions on how that would be applied, you can contact me. Now, below that, we have 2 additional check boxes. One is assessments tied to course objectives, and the other is evaluation criteria or rubrics identified for all assessment methods. Now, the first one is the learning objectives coming back up here. Now, we talked about how they should be tied to the module. This is indicating whether or not the objectives are specifically tied to the assessments in the course. And one of the best practices for doing this is just in the description of that assessment, a quiz, a Dropbox, whatever that would be, a discussion forum, you would just indicate which learning objective you're addressing with that assessment. And you can just simply state it. For my courses, I just put in at the bottom of the description, I put in which learning objectives, and I just leave the existing numbers. So if I'm using from the syllabus objective number 1 and 5, I leave them ordered like that so the students can refer back to the syllabus and see that. The last item here is the evaluation criteria or rubrics. And it's really a best practice to let students know how they're being assessed on the various assessments in your course, how the points are being divided up, what they need to do to get all the points, what's going to be associated with any deductions that they receive. And there is a rubric tool within Desire to Learn, but you can also create your own paper rubrics and tie those to the various assessments. You can also upload them and link them to various activities or assessments in the course. So there's a number of different ways you can provide that evaluation criteria. That's entirely up to you, but once again, it is a best practice to provide that information to the students before they complete the assessment.